Welcome to the FOMO show about TV and home theater news. This week's headline begins with you. The American consumer has voted Samsung number one TV brand as scored by the American Customer Satisfaction Index. Number two is LG and a three-way tied for third. Hisense, Sony, Vizio, and there is one brand ranked dead last, below even all other brands like Insignia, Westinghouse. Oof! Which brand do you think that is? And we have to talk about this customer satisfaction index because it breaks down the scores to individual criteria like customer service, durability, UI, navigation, ease of use. Let's dig into the data to see how satisfying your TV brand is. Today's video is brought to you by WhoKeys. Trying to build a PC on a budget but don't know where to buy your Windows software cheaply? WhoKeys to the rescue. Use my coupon code SF20 and immediate discount with a free upgrade to Windows 11. At the bottom of this order where it says code CARD, to the right is the product key you need to activate Windows. So copy this long number, then go to the Windows menu and click on Settings. In the Settings menu at the bottom, select Update and Security. Select Activation, then select Change Product Key, paste what you copied from WhoKeys, click Next, click Activate, and you're done. You can buy Windows 11 Pro or Office 2019 Pro with my discount code SF20. Yes, I've been using WhoKeys for the last several years on my own PC builds and it just works. So the American Customer Satisfaction Index just published their findings for 2024, and it covers computers, home appliances, and what we love most, televisions. And what is ACSI measuring? ACSI captures consumer opinions about critical elements of the customer experience, scaled from 0 to 100. Although we will go over the individual criteria like picture quality and customer service, unfortunately, they didn't break it down by brand, just industry averages. Then they added it up, and then at the end, they ranked the brands that had the most points. So it's very interesting to see at the end of it all which brand accumulated the most points. And for context, I want to compare this year's score to last year because there has been some big moves since 2023. Now, this is the first time I've heard of this index, so we will be tracking it annually from now on. But last year in 2023, the industry average was 81, and this year it went up to 82. So a slight uptick. But another interesting change since 2023 is who became number one in 2024. Last year, LG was number one at 83. This year, Samsung jumps to number one at 84. And last year, there was a three-way tie for second. Samsung, Hisense, and TCL at 82. Then third was Sony at 81. And then fourth was Vizio at 80, tied with all others. And all others means Insignia, Toshiba, Westinghouse, RCA, right? You name it, it's in all others if it's not listed as one of the premium brands we just talked about, but that was last year. This year, very interesting. In 2024, the industry average rose to 82. Last year was 81, this year is 82. What does that mean? It means overall, by 2024, consumers were more satisfied with their TVs overall, right, as an industry. That's good news. It means that we're going in the right direction. But what's even more interesting was that Samsung rose to number one this year, from 82 to 84. And more surprisingly, LG dropped from the number one spot. They formerly were at 83, and now they're down to 82, tied with all others. Insignia and Westinghouse, this is less about LG at 82, but more about all others going up to second place. Third place at 81 goes to Sony, Hisense, and Vizio. Yay, Vizio went up to third place, but that's concerning that Hisense dropped to 81, third place. And of course, way back at 79, a score of 79 is TCL. They went from second last year and dropped all the way down to 79, below all others, worse than Insignia and Westinghouse. I wonder what it was that pulled them down. And before we get into what makes up these scores, right? Picture quality, UI, navigation menus, customer service, and so forth, I just want to talk about this year-to-year trend and what model years they cover. Now, based on the data given in this publication from ACSI, it appears that it's not 2024 model TVs or 2023. Rather, it's an accumulation of model years. So the trend may be a 3-year, 4-year trailing average. So, for example, in 2023, it covers some of the 2023 TVs, a lot of 2022, a lot of 2021, probably some 2020. And the question is, how far back do they go? And so over time, as the older TVs start to die, they disappear and then the newer TVs start appearing. So even though it's called a 2024 index, I think the reality is it's mostly 2022, 2021, going back a little bit. And so when we see the trend, I think as a group, it doesn't say what year these TVs are. My assumption will be it's averaging over the last 4 years of TVs. So, for example, when we see, oh, TCL dropped to 79, it's possible that these are 2020 TCLs that didn't do as well, and more people are having trouble with their 2020 TCLs. Maybe they're failing early or whatnot, and so it drops. It doesn't necessarily mean that the 2024 TCLs are terrible. So these are the details that we don't know, and we may never know what the data really says, but it's still fun to see the conclusions. All right, let's dive into the actual details of this score. So we'll start from the top with picture quality. And before we go down the list, here is my assumptions about how they average these things. So the navy blue line on top that says 86 in picture quality, right? That's for the 2024 index. And then the line below that, the gray line, is the 2023 index. And again, I think each of these years represent maybe a 5-year model average. So let's say the navy blue line, right? The line on top would be everything between 2019 and 2024 model years. And then the gray line is maybe 2018 to 2023 model years. And so this gives us an idea that the TVs are getting better, but I would have to look at it as a 5-year block. And so picture quality has definitely improved in the last 5 years, but most notably this year. From 2023 to 2024, the TCL QM7 is who I'm going to use as an example. As much as I really liked the TCL Q7 last year, you guys saw a lot of the shortcomings, right? I mean, it was a great price, but it still didn't have that absolute contrast. It lacked the brightness. It didn't have good local dimming performance, but it was very good for what it was. This year, for a similar price, wow, it is so close to their flagship QM8. I mean, if it wasn't for the super challenging content that really separates the number of dimming zones, that QM7 easily could match last year's QM8 no problem. And this year is only falling short of the QM8 in certain scenes, but more often than not, they were a match. And so the QM7 is still in the lead for my editor's choice this year because the value is so good. But it's trickled down, right? So from QM7, you go to the Q6 and so forth. These affordable models from TCL has really changed the game for the competition and what to expect. So it is no surprise that picture quality is at 86, and over time, I guarantee you it'll go 86, 87, 88, because we are definitely on a trend where the lower performing models become higher and higher, and diminishing returns is going to hit hard at around $700. So this is pretty amazing, right? Now the next one is very interesting, durability. And this is why I think maybe it goes back a few years. I mean, first year ownership, that's not really durability, right? You guys want to own your TV for several years. And it makes sense that if they track your ownership of a TV, so let's say in the questionnaire, they ask, hey, what model of your TV you have? Oh, I got a 2017 TCL. How do you like it? Oh, it just broke. I hate it, right? And so those kind of comments is because it's an older TV, it breaks, but over time those TVs disappear and you won't see any of those comments about the 2017 models anymore. And as TV brands improve, it'll take a while for that brand to show the improvement. It may be a few years down the line, but regardless, this is a great trend. The durability actually went up, not down. So that's another great trend. Initial setup, plug and play. Well, this has been pretty easy for a while now. You plug it in, it really does just work. Very little interaction with the TV itself beyond accepting the terms of service, plug it into the internet, and it does the rest. So it's quite easy, and I would say this is about the same experience I've had with other TVs as well. So I think plug and play No different than setting up your iPhone or Android phone when you first buy it. That makes sense. And it feels like it's kind of plateaued at 84, and 84 is actually pretty good. Ease of using the menus, yes, 83 to 84, it's gotten better. I see it streamlining. I know there are more ads, but the ease of the menus appear to be improving, and that's a plus. Ease of using a remote, well, they've definitely simplified it. So if you remember, maybe 5 years ago, the remotes were full of buttons. Now, on off, a few direction buttons, volume, and the picture quality is pretty good out of the box, so you really don't adjust much. Yep, definitely ease of using the remote is there. This is interesting. Minimal downtime, crashes, and lags definitely getting better. As processors get faster, I noticed that it's a bit snappier, right? So, Tizen maybe from 3 years ago appeared to have slowed down here or there, and definitely the Sonys from 4 years ago were very laggy, gotten much better since then. I still think there's room for improvement, but definitely not as slow as it was many, many years ago. So that's definitely a great trend. USB and HDMI ports and Bluetooth, 83, 83, so it's kind of plateaued. Again, I think that's pretty positive. Above an 80 is a good thing. Quality of mobile app, interesting. Mobile app, I guess besides Samsung, there are not a lot of mobile apps that are fully integrated into the TV itself. So I'd say Samsung because of its smartphone ecosystem, right? So Samsung for sure. Maybe Google TV with its integration with Android phones, right? Sony, Google TV, not really Sony, it's really Google TV, right? So the other brands that use Google TV, I guess they're benefiting from the Google TV mobile app, but still, 83 is pretty good. Sound quality actually improved from 82 to 83. How much of this is TCL and Hisense carrying the sound quality? Because I'll tell you, Samsung's sound quality hasn't improved. It's pretty much stayed the same. As you get thinner and thinner, there is no way you're going to make sound quality better, right? So it's good that it's as an industry has gone up. I expect it to plateau soon though, because I'm not seeing much of an improvement there unless you're going with like a Bravia 9 or the latest Panasonic Z95A, which definitely sets a new standard for loudness and sound quality. The rest of the TVs pretty much just stayed the same. TCL has been pretty good and solid for the last few years in terms of sound quality for the price. Next up is ease of arranging service. So we'll put that aside. I think your retailer has more to do with that. Energy efficiency definitely gone up, right, with the new EU standards, forcing the TVs to be a bit more efficient with their brightness and how they do it. So that's good. I see that going up. Next up is exterior design, color styling finish. What can you do with a TV flat panel box, right? I mean, it'll probably plateau at 82 unless you're getting one of the Samsung Zeros or Serifs, which has a purpose in design, configuration options, contrast, and resolution. From 81 to 82, I guess this means it's easy to access those settings and know what to do with it. Now, to me personally, I still think it's a mess because there's no standardization of terms. One company calls motion settings anti-blur, anti-jitter. Another one calls it film smoothing. Another one doesn't use any of those terms at all. There is no standardization of terms when it comes to motion. And brightness used to mean one thing, now it means something else. Yeah, what does backlight mean? So I think there's still work to be done about configuration options, unless they're only limited to just contrast and resolution. But resolution, you're either 4K or you're not. Is this a 4K TV? Upscaling is automatic, so I don't know what they mean by resolution, but I get it with the contrast or the HDR setting. To me, HDR settings are still confusing. Dynamic tone mapping versus native tone mapping versus no tone mapping. Like, what does this all mean? Everyone uses a different term. Like the Panasonic, they have dynamic clipping, whereas LG has dynamic off and off professional, and Sony has off gradation preferred and brightness preferred. Like, what does this all really mean? Who knows? Every company has their own approach to tone mapping. So I think there's some confusion there still, but it's good to see that consumers are more sophisticated. I guess they understand what these mean now. So it's gone from 81 to 82. Outcome of service and repair. Wow, not a surprise. It's gone from 83 to 82. So I guess they're not repairing it. So consumers are like, wait a minute, last year when I called you out, you actually repaired it. This year, you're not even returning my calls. That's interesting and unfortunate, right? So this is where the customer service seems to have dropped a bit. Warranty coverage from 80 to 82, I guess that's just the support, how long it lasts. I mean, 1 year is 1 year. So it must not be the extension of time for warranty coverage, but rather they actually replace your TVs. So if you combine the outcome of service repair and the warranty coverage, this is what it means. They're not really repairing anything. They're just replacing your TV or giving you your money back, which is fine too, right? So if the repair fails, it drops to 82, but instead, warranty coverage goes up because they just give you a check or give you a new TV, which I think may end up being better. Now, website satisfaction. What does that mean, website satisfaction? You have the information you need on a website. Is it easy to find firmware to download and then install it independently? Who knows? Courtesy and helpfulness of service technician. So this has gone down, and that makes sense, right? The more we call service technicians, the less they know. No surprise there. Again, I think the TV companies would rather just get you a new TV cheaper than sending a repair guy out there at what, $20 an hour? I mean, just give them a new TV. Same with timeliness of repair drop too. So anything related to repair and actual service of your TV has gone down. And I think it's because labor costs drives expenses up, and the TV companies are like, isn't it just easier to send them a check or send them a new TV? So that makes sense. Now, this is where the drops really begin. Call center satisfaction, 78, unchanged. In other words, not satisfying. And this last one, response to OLED TV burn-in issues. Well, this was a thing before 2019 for sure. And now it's less of a thing. And this is why I think it's this long tail 77 to 78. So as more people get new OLED TVs, this will continue to get better and better. And as the older OLEDs get replaced, that will get better and better because older OLEDs really, you cannot fix a burn-in, right? Response to burn-in issues. If you're out of warranty, you're not getting a replacement. You're unhappy, you can't repair it. That is not good. So this is where over time it will get better as people start to replace all their older burned-in OLEDs and you get the more modern 2019 and later models, which I'm very confident should have better OLED TV burn-in issues. And related to these observations is their quote about the data sets covering service and support. Among individual brands, however, service-related scores vary significantly. So you have some that do really well with service and support and some that do really badly because you're calling and no one responds or you cannot even find a way to get them to respond. As an example, this week, the Sony Bravia 9 had a firmware update, right? And it caused a lot of people to lose settings. I mean, it was a mess. And Sony recognized it. This year, unlike prior years, first, they have their own YouTube channel called Sony Connect, where you could ask them questions, complain, and they will tell you what they're doing to help you out. Second, they're reaching out to influencers like myself and saying, look, we recognize this is a problem. Here's our statement. We're on it. And let us know what else is wrong. It's this communication that lets consumers know they're being heard, but being heard is not enough. Actually fix it. And Sony has actually been pretty good with these fixes. For example, my A95L Dolby Vision, finally, it works. Meaning, it used to be a little bit too dark before. Well, recent firmware updates, it now matches out of the box Dolby Vision Dark of the LG G4, or G4 calls it Dolby Vision Filmmaker mode, perfect match, and the Z95A Panasonic in its Dolby Vision Dark mode, very much similar to the G4 and the Sony. So the Sony is right there with Dolby Vision accuracy, looks phenomenal. Thank you, Sony, for that. So it's that responsiveness that is improving over time. But maybe 4 years ago, Sony may not have been as communicative with their consumers. So that's a good thing that this is going up, but that's Sony. How communicative is TCL or Hisense or even Samsung, right? As more and more companies turn to AI chat support, then it's up to how much information this chat has accessible to help you with your concerns. Now, taking this survey from a high level view, right, 10,000 foot, I'm thinking this is actually wonderful that in 2024, all others, meaning Westinghouse, Insignia, Fire TV, Toshiba, whatever you can think of, the Walmart special, they average 82. Wait, the industry average is now 82. Now, how much of this is because Samsung sells so many TVs and is pulling it up? Probably a lot. But on the other hand, I think it's funny that the industry average at 82 is higher than the 81 score that went to Sony, Hisense, and Vizio. So Vizio at third is below second place LG and all others. I just think that's so comical. But these 1 point differences, right? I don't think it's as much to celebrate in terms of, oh, yes, I'm number two over number three, but rather as a group, consumers can't go wrong regardless of the TVs they're buying, right? So those of you who are watching this and have non-major brand TVs like Westinghouse, Toshiba, Fire TV, no name brand, how do you like it compared to what the TVs you had before if it was a name brand? Is it better? Is it the same? And I think that's where we are now, which is it's less about the name brand, unless I guess Samsung, because it's doing something right to be so far ahead of the industry. And wait, let's take a second. Thank you, Samsung, for doing that. It forces everyone to pay attention to what you're doing right and copying you. And I've always been a fan of Tizen. Very easy to use, very snappy. But as far as the industry as a whole, seeing image quality slowly creep up as an industry really heartens me. Now, on the other side of it, the customer service and support, let me ask you guys this. There's always a cost to be paid to saving money. Does that even make sense? Okay, when you pay less for a TV, you're paying less for customer support. And I think that's something you guys have to be willing to accept, right? Because let's say you buy a Sony, right? It's the Sony tax. Sony is taking that tax and paying for customer support, communications, right? Hiring a team to start a YouTube channel to connect with their buyers. Now, the other brand, let's say Westinghouse, why are they going to charge 1/3 the price of a Sony? And well, there's no money left for customer support. Now for some context, this report also rated computers and home appliances. So we talked about televisions. What about computers and home appliances? So Apple is the best, no surprise, among computers at 85. That's only 1 point better than a Samsung TV. And among the best rated is 86. Whirlpool over-the-range microwave and LG dryers tied with Apple computers with a score of 85. So overall, I think us in the television industry, we're doing pretty good with customer satisfaction overall. But hey, I'm biased. Let me know, how happy are you with your TV purchase? And if you're not happy, how old is your TV? And if it's new, what brand is it? Until next time, my friends, stop the FOMO.
That's what I'm talking about. Wait! Okay, now, from the beginning.
Hit it, boys.